maybe going to pass on to focus on a specific element of Leading STEM, and that is the Young STEM Leader Programme, which we're delighted to have Graham with us this afternoon, and he'll tell us a story of how he's come to be part of us at our session this afternoon. So thanks so much, Graham, and over to you.
Thanks very much, folks. Yeah, I'd like to just start by saying a very good afternoon to everybody, and thanks to my colleagues at Education Scotland for inviting me along. I will say I am a stand-in, so I've been given a please take, to use the school term today. Originally, colleagues from the RTAV programme at Young STEM Leaders, so my colleagues at CERC, Belinda and Anita, were originally meant to be presenting this section today, but with their rotten bit of luck, and both of them are unwell, so I've been drafted in to do this bit. So originally we had an ESN practitioner and a primary practitioner, and you're now stuck with me, the former physics secondary teacher, but my amazing colleague in RTAV, Jane Mays, has also jumped in, so I'm going to lean on you quite a lot, Jane, here for the primary. And if you don't know Jane, Jane is a primary teacher in Fintry Primary up in Dundee, and does a lot of brilliant work with us, and is also an RTAV for the Young STEM Leader Programme. Anybody that knows me knows I'm famous for my acronyms and initialisations. RTAV means Associate Regional Trainer and Verifier. The Young STEM Leader Programme is just get so big now. CERC, the 3 or 4 people at CERC can't do it on our own. So we have 16 people, educators across all of Scotland, who actually are advocates for the programme, who carry out external verification, who train more people, and so on. And Jane is one of them, and I'm delighted to have Jane with us. So I'm going to bring Jane in after I've run through some slides. I do have Anita's slides, and Anita's a teacher. She's PT STEM at St Marnock's down in the south side of Glasgow. I am going to use her slides and talk about them, and I may be quite naive, but I have been blessed to have been to St Marnock's a couple of times and spent some time with her. So a lot of the young people in the photographs that you'll see, I've actually met and spent some time with, and they are amazing. So I kind of half know what I'm talking about with Anita's slides, so that's better than nothing at all. So if you don't know about the Young STEM Leader Programme, it was born out of the Scottish Government's STEM strategy for education and training. So we're going back to 2017, when the Young STEM Leader Programme was just a concept, an idea. And CERC, along with partners from Education Scotland, science centres, anybody who's involved in education, we worked together to develop, create, pilot this programme. And we're now really proud to have what is a very, very large STEM award, where young people lead STEM-based activities, events and interactions in their centre. And I use the term centre in its broadest possible sense. We can be talking about ESN settings, nursery, primary, secondary, colleges, apprenticeships, youth clubs, scouts, brownies, anywhere where there's the opportunity for young people to lead learning in a STEM context, they can take on the Young STEM Leader Programme. The 4 badges that you can see there, those are the 4 badges that are earned in the non-formal levels. I'll say a bit more about the levels in a second, but Discover, Create, Inspire and Lead are those 4 core badges that young people work through in the curricular levels of the programme. So there are currently 6 levels of the award, and I use the word currently because Young STEM Leader Level 7 is on its way. So up until this point, Young STEM Leader Programme exists in the non-formal versions of Curriculum for Excellence 2nd, 3rd and 4th levels. So those are loosely accessed by middle and upper primary, or anybody who is at that stage of their learning. And again, just making the point that it's not solely for schools. This is an award for schools and for other learning centres as well. So Curriculum for Excellence 2nd, 3rd and 4th levels, they make up what we call the non-formal version of the programme, and that's where the Young STEM Leaders will gain their Discover, Create, Inspire and Lead badges, add the 4 of those together, and they'll get the full level award. We then move into the formal levels of the programme, and they exist at SCQF levels 4, 5 and 6. So we're now talking about people who are maybe in the middle to senior phase, in the upper BGE stage of high school, or they're now in the senior phase of high school, or of course, they're maybe in apprenticeship programmes, or maybe at college, or they're maybe doing this through community learning settings or youth work, etc. And those are credit rated by SQA. and carry credit points for the young people as well. And it's really all about raising and building the STEM capital of young people, the centres, and empowering and mobilising young people to lead STEM activities in their centres. And those photographs on the right-hand side of the slide hopefully show that. The programme, as I said, has grown hugely since its pilot a few years ago. We've now got around 10,000 active young STEM leaders in Scotland across around 700 delivering centres, and we've got over 2,000 educators, again using that term in its broadest possible sense, who are trained as tutor assessors. So basically people who have gone on a training programme with myself, Jamie, who's the programme manager at CERC, or even Jane, and they've been trained by Jane, and they go and deliver that programme. So ready for the next slide, please, Mary. This, I think, encapsulates pretty much everything I've just been saying there, but in one nice handy slide there. So the blue circles on your left, that captures the non-formal versions of the programme at CFE second, third and fourth levels. And then your orange circles there, that's your SCQF credit rated 4, 5 and 6 as well. And again, those ribbons along the bottom are just sort of trying to show that it's not just schools. There's a whole broad range of people who can do it. And I will just add in at this point, many of my colleagues in Education Scotland and across all of the education community in Scotland have always spoken about why there isn't a Young STEM Leader level 1 or even an early level or a Young STEM Leader level 7. And we agreed with that, but what was in the original, I guess, idea or concept from the STEM strategy was just these 6 levels at least to begin with. But we're really proud to say that work is starting in a couple of weeks for Young STEM Leader level 7. So that will really be appropriate for within the high school, young people who are studying at advanced higher level, or people who, as I've said earlier on, are maybe in apprenticeship programs or working already in industry, and young people who are, really working at that level 7 and ready to access that. So we're definitely filling those gaps that have been identified, starting with Young STEM Leaders level 7. So we're really excited to start work on that. So we're ready for the next slide. Thank you very much. So these are now Anita's slides. So Dr. Anita Webster, she is a PT STEM at St Marnock's in Glasgow City Council. And we're just going to run through some of the content that Anita has provided. So the next slide has the 4 contexts. And this is really well populated, but it's all populated in the context of the Young STEM Leader programme. So you can see just by taking the Young STEM Leader programme, hopefully this slide already indicates just how rich and how much the Young STEM Leader programme actually offers, because Anita has populated the 4 contexts very, very well. I'm not going to read all of them to you, but I will give you a few seconds just to pick out some points there. So maybe look at one particular context that maybe within your setting you've got a keen interest on, or maybe something that's in your SIP. And, is there anything in there that's jumping out? Because these are all links that Anita has made to the Young STEM Leader programme. So all really useful stuff.
Sorry, Graham, I moved on too quick for folk to have a look at it. Apologies.
That's okay. That's totally fine. And I think while the 4 contexts are on the screen as well, it's probably worth thinking back to SNAP, the STEM Nation Award programme that Hazel was speaking about earlier on as well, because I think that the parallels and the links are so clear here, hopefully, and it just shows that this is all just one big thing. We're all trying to do the same thing here. We're trying to really improve and deliver high quality STEM learning in our classrooms and our youth groups, etc. And really, this is all just one part of the same journey that we're all going on. So I'm ready for the next slide, please, Mary. Right, so I had the pleasure of visiting St Marnock's. I will say it wasn't a nice sunny day like that photograph captures. It was quite the opposite. But I have met some of these Young STEM leaders many, many times, and Anita really has gone mad with the Young STEM Leader programme in terms of the amount of things that she has put those young people in charge of. It really is quite incredible. And one of the days I was down there, we were working with primary 6 and 7 young STEM leaders, and it was a Christmas themed engineering challenge where we were actually using cold metal forming tools to make little model reindeer. So that was just one of many things that they had done. So running through some of the things they have, they've got Young STEM Leader Level 2, so it's at CFE second level, and the young people are running a lunchtime club and committee. We have Young STEM Leader Week, which takes place every year in Scotland. It's sometimes end of September, mid-October. Young people are delivering activities which are aligned to Maths Week Scotland, Book Week Scotland, and National Numeracy Day, and we've got some stuff coming up on that later. And there are 2 tutor assessors in St Marnock, so it's not just Anita. I have to say I haven't met the second TA, but that's another valid point there. Don't just do this on your own. If you think this already sounds interesting, I'd love to be a trained tutor assessor, try to bring other people in there. So if you're in a high school, bring in people from all the different departments, certainly the STEM departments. If you're in a primary, bring colleagues in. It's a great development activity for NQTs, for example. Don't be the only person that's leading this programme. Try and bring the support of colleagues in as well. So ready for the next slide, please.
Graham, Mary's popped in a wee question into the chat there. Is there any idea if there'll be a level 1 for ELCs coming out?
The answer to that is we hope so, but nothing has been confirmed. It all depends. Basically, like everything, it comes back to money. So Young STEM Leader, obviously the Young STEM Leader programme is funded by Scottish Government, and that was for the 6 levels, Mary. So in terms of developing Young STEM Leader Level 7, that is actually being funded by an organisation called Ocean Winds. So they are effectively funding the development and the materials and resources of that. We are certainly looking at ways and exploring ways, and it's on CERC's improvement plan, if you like, to consider how we could create Young STEM Leader Level 1. If it does happen, it will be a year or 2 away. So sorry that if that's not the answer you wanted to hear, but it's in our sights, and if we can make it happen, we will. I'm also seeing another question. If you're in an ELC, you could link up with local primary and secondary school. Absolutely. I mean, that's a great point that Mary makes there. One of the conversations I remember having years back actually was with a nursery teacher who was probably feeling a bit disgruntled in the sense that why isn't there an early and why isn't there a first? And yet we share the idea that we believe we could and should create early and first. But just because the young people you work with aren't currently or haven't reached level 2 yet, that doesn't mean they can't work with other Young STEM leaders and they still can't engage with the programme. But what that means is they could be the recipients of Young STEM leaders leading activities with them. So yes, they can't gain the earlier first Young STEM Leader Award yet, but they can still absolutely work with people who are further up the school, for example. So definitely consider that and link in. And Young STEM leaders in primaries and secondaries, for example, are always looking for an audience to go and work with on that. And I think Jane could probably bring some really nice examples in later as well. This is something that I was lucky enough to see. So these guys in the photograph, these Young STEM leaders, they actually did a showcase at Leidos. Leidos are a large technology organisation. They're based in the Sky Park in Glasgow, and they presented that day. And I went up and I spent ages listening to what they did here. And for me, the number one thing about this outdoor maths activities that they were doing is it was young people, not teachers, delivering maths, educating, delivering the E's and O's in maths and numeracy, and doing it in a really, really fun way. Now, I'm a physicist and former engineer, so any maths is fun to me, obviously. But these guys were delivering this to P2s, I think it was, and it was so engaging. It was so much fun. I think it was the whole learning by stealth, and they just made numeracy and maths fun for everybody that was involved with it. And there was some really, really clever things going on. So that was absolutely fantastic. And those photographs show how they were doing that. So I'm ready for the next slide, please. This is, again, interesting. This is an activity that actually was used as evidence for the Young STEM Leader log. So as young people work through the award, whether it's CFE second level, going all the way up to SEQF level 6, the assessment tool, if I can call it that, is a log that they complete. There's a digital log, so they can do that on iPads, laptops, phones, or there's hard copy logs as well that they can fill in. And those are effectively marked by the tutor assessor, a bit of internal verification, sometimes externally verified by CERT, just to ensure we're maintaining the integrity of the award. But there's activities where young STEM leaders can do the activities in class, and that can serve as evidence for the log, and in a lot of ways can circumvent the log, and not in a crafty way or avoiding work, in a very sensible way to say, look, this activity that we are doing today, guys, this is going to be really good evidence for a certain activity in your Young STEM Leader log. So let's get that stuck in there, and then we don't need to do the actual activity that's in the log. So this is really clever here. Challenging stereotypes in STEM, addressing gender issues in maths, and again, just researching inspirational figures in STEM. And in this case, the Young STEM Leaders were looking at inspirational women in STEM. So looking at people like Katherine Johnson and Sophie Germain. So just brilliant stuff going on there, and a little bit of history as well going on. So just really interesting stuff, and again, allowing young people to actually see the people that are contributing to STEM in past, present and future. So next slide, please. Again, you might be wondering why they're having a wee lie down there, but what they were doing was measuring the length of different animals, and they were actually doing scaling, I believe. And so they had a book which gave the average length and height and average mass. Notice I didn't say weight there, average mass of animals, and wingspans and all sorts of stuff. And then they were mapping these out on the playground with chalk, and then comparing themselves to those animals. So that's what's going on there, in case you think they were just got bored and decided to have a wee lie down. So again, outdoor learning, loads of good stuff going on, bringing maths into and a whole range of other things. And again, initiatives and programmes that you'll probably have heard of from STEM Glasgow, the Scottish Book Trust, loads of other things going on there as well. And of course, the pretty famous Read, Write, Count programme. And again, if that's something you haven't heard of, personally, I would encourage you to have a look at the Read, Write, Count programme. The resources for there are fabulous. They're totally free. And again, they're all aligned to our curriculum in Scotland as well. So again, if you haven't heard of Read, Write, Count, please have a look at that too. Some brilliant stuff there. Next slide, please. Thank you. Again, a wee bit more on Read, Write, Count again, and that's from the Scottish Book Trust. And these guys then went on a bug hunt as well. So that's with the Royal Society Protection of Birds. So sorry, Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, and going on a bug safari, bug hotels, just great outdoor learning, brilliant stuff to do. You're starting to bring in biodiversity and ecosystems and habitats. So you're really, you're not just engaging with the science benchmarks and E's and O's here, you're also starting to look at the science skills within the benchmarks as well. And I think, again, as a former science teacher, that can sometimes, in my opinion, be something that is overlooked or missed, or sometimes we scratch our heads and think, how can we deliver the science skills within the benchmarks as well as the E's and O's? So there's just brilliant ways to build young people's science skills through those curricular progressions. Okay, and again, just more on the bug hunt, and that allowed them to go for their Bronze Challenge Award as well. So there's a really good point in all of this, that the Young STEM Leader programme's got so many links to so many other awards as well, and it's something we've worked really hard to do at CERC. So we've got a range of auto awards. So we believed right back at the start to say, there should be more than one way to gain your Young STEM Leader Award. Yes, you can do it in the traditional format. So you can say, right, I'm going to get trained as a Young STEM Leader Tutor Assessor. I'm going to get the logbooks, hard copy or digital. And me and my group of P6s, or me and my youth club, or me and my brownies, or me and my 5th year physics class, we're going to do the Young STEM Leader programme as is. But at CERC, we've worked with lots of organisations, so like the Engineering Development Trust, we've worked with Formula One in schools, we've worked with loads of organisations. I'm thinking about Aerospace Kinross, many other organisations. And what we've done is we've looked at their award and said, right, okay, if a young person completes your award, we believe it merits them being given a Young STEM Leader Award as well. So that's what we call an auto award scenario. And it's really just about acknowledging the work that a young person will do through another programme. And as long as we feel it meets the criteria, the aims and the ethos of the Young STEM Leader programme, they will literally be given a Young STEM Leader Award as well. So that's another thing to look at. And we look at many schools, organisations and other charities, etc., who have brilliant programmes. And when we look at it, we will say, that should carry a Young STEM Leader Award. And we do a little bit of work, a little bit of cross-mapping across our curriculum and our learning outcomes. And what we often find is many young people are gaining Young STEM Leader Awards. I mentioned the Aerospace Kinross programme there. We've actually given out hundreds of Young STEM Leader Awards through an auto award just in the last few months there. So it wasn't young people actually doing the Young STEM Leader programme. They were doing the Aerospace Kinross. I think it's called the Hydrogen Challenge. And we believe that should carry an award. So we're giving out awards to young people in a whole range of different ways. Next slide, please. Okay, and then again, games, bringing STEM learning into games and learning through play and a whole range of other activities there again. So all of the Young STEM leaders, certainly when I went to St Marnock's, and I don't know how they do it and how they got the time, but every single Young STEM leader I spoke to was running their own club. And that's actually something as well that I saw at Kilmarnock Primary in the East End of Glasgow. So there's a small group of Young STEM leaders and every Young STEM leader was running their own club. But not just that, they also had to pick a buddy and support them in running their club. I don't know where they found the time or enough days in a week to do this. And these are examples, just two of hundreds of examples. I've seen young people running photography clubs. Jane, again, will say more about digital technologies. And we find when we get into Young STEM Leader Centres, everywhere we look, it's going back to the original slides that Mary had, is yes, the teachers are leading STEM. Of course they are. It's their job. And, you know, other educators and adults all over the place. But we're seeing more and more young people actually being put in power and in charge of leading STEM learning in their centres. So again, it links back to SNAP. It links back to Leadership of Learning. It links back to Higgius and all sorts of things. And it's just also the right thing to do and is very, very valuable for everyone involved. So next slide, please. And we've also got, we're now kind of moving into the secondary aspect of things. So I'm aware the focus originally for today was primary and ASN. But again, just it's probably stating the obvious about how Young STEM Leader is delivered and supported in the senior phase as well. We're talking about supplementing young people who are preparing for their certificated awards, so National 4s, 5s, Hires, Advanced Hires. They're maybe doing National Progression Awards at school and a whole range of other certificated qualifications, and Young STEM Leader is being added to that. Young STEM Leader even exists within the drop-down menu of the UCAS application, so hundreds of young people all over Scotland are applying to university and they're putting in their SQA exam grades, and also the fact that they have a Young STEM Leader Award at SCQF level 4, 5 or 6. So it's a really, really valuable thing to have. As you would expect, things like STEM clubs and science clubs, we've got senior pupils leading with junior pupils. But again, that point, it doesn't always need to be older learners leading younger learners. There's some amazing examples actually of young people delivering effectively professional learning to teachers in things like digital technologies as well. So iPad masterclasses being led by young people showing teachers how to use things like iPads, Google Classroom, etc. So next slide, please. And then we've just got some snapshots from Twitter. So again, we've got, that's Braidhurst Biology there. So we've got senior pupils working with P7s. So I think it goes back to a point that was made in the chat. So again, Braidhurst, I think North Lanarkshire School, going to one of their associate primaries, and the senior phase pupils from Braidhurst leading activities. So there's transition opportunities, aplenty with Young STEM Leader. And on the left-hand side, we're in Peebles High School there. So Iona down in Peebles, just doing some brilliant stuff again. So we've got S1 Young STEM leaders working away and delivering a whole range of different activities there as well. In terms of the slides that we have, I think there's a few more, Mary, but I'm not going to dip into any of them. But what I am going to ask before we hand over maybe to Jane, just to offer some more context to how she does it, is we've got a really, really nice video from the Young STEM leaders from St Marnock's. So Mary, I don't know if it's possible for you to put that video on, and it's just the Young STEM leaders reflecting on the impact that the program's had on them. So giving that a watch is really, really valuable. So hopefully you're able to cue that video up, Mary, and put that on for everybody. I'm happy to come in after the video and after Jane and answer any questions. But thanks very much everyone for listening, and I hope you found that useful.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and share that just now. Graham, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. So bear with me while I just try and switch a process here, and hopefully, Graham, you'll be able to see. Can you see that video okay?
Yep, I can see the Young STEM leader on the screen there. Thank you.
Great.
One of the best things about being a STEM leader was help.
And just to pause it, Graham, can you hear that okay?
Yep, the sound was great. Thank you.
Please make a bird feeder project, and they hung it up so the birds can eat it.
My favourite thing about STEM was interviewing a marine officer and asking her questions about her job and what she does to help the society. One of my favourite things about being STEM leader was leading younger children using math activities in National Numeracy Day.
During Maths Week Scotland, we planned maths clubs for the P4s and the P5s, and we designed board games. We worked together in a team.
In Maths Week Scotland, we used our iPads to search up women in math. I used my iPad to search up Victoria Drummond. She was the first woman in marine engineering, and back in the days, normally men would get more money in their job than women, so she was a big inspiration to other women.
During the Young STEM Leader program, I developed leadership skills through leading activities with the younger children. I also gained some teamwork skills because I was planning with some other young STEM leaders different activities to do with the younger children, and I also gained some listening and talking skills while doing that as well.
Thanks very much for playing that video, Mary. Just before we hand over to Jane, I also want to just make a quick anecdotal point as these young STEM leaders, I mentioned earlier on about verification. So if you're delivering the Young STEM Leader programme, it is an award, and even if it's at the non-formal levels, we still want verification. We still want to maintain the integrity of the award, but it's very light touch. But back at the start, people were a bit nervous about verification. And I thought, how can I show that it's light touch? So I made a guide video on verification, but it was the Young STEM leaders who you just saw on your screen there who made the video, and it was absolutely brilliant. I'm going to need to find the link for that and share it with you. So people who were nervous about, oh, I'm being verified, or I need to fill in all these forms, it was those Young STEM leaders who presented the video, and I think what it did is it just instantly took the heat out of that situation and made it really, really funny. You can probably tell by the smile on my face. That video was excellent. I'm going to send the link to that when I get a chance. So Jane, I'm going to hand over to you. Thanks so much for stepping in and helping me today. And Jane's got some brilliant stuff to talk about and how she's delivered it at Fintry.
Thanks, Graham. Thanks everyone for having me here tonight as well. So what I'm going to do just to start off is just kind of explain how we became to deliver the Young STEM Leader programme at Fintry. We kind of came in after the pilot mid-COVID, was when we started delivering the award. And prior to that, we had children who were digital leaders in our school. They were responsible for managing our digital resources like our iPads and our laptops, and going into classes and supporting teachers whether it was they were delivering the lesson or they were just there on hand to be an extra pair of hands during a lesson. What we did prior to COVID was we started our digital learning week. So our digital leaders helped to plan the week. They met visitors at our front door and they took them to the different classes and took lots of photos and kind of encouraged Q&A sessions as well. So when we heard the Young STEM Leader programme was out there, we immediately kind of jumped at the chance to give our children the recognition that they deserved, because what we found was the Young STEM Leader programme fitted perfectly in with what our digital leaders were doing. So we thought, why not give them the award if they're doing all the work anyway? And it's just kind of grown from there. We started off with 10 children doing the Young STEM Leader programme at Fintry, and we now have, I think it's about 30 children doing it. And we don't do it as a whole class. We do it where the children kind of apply to be a STEM leader in our school, and then we pick from those application forms. It's the worst time of year. I absolutely hate that job. But due to my timetable, we can only kind of take so many children on. So I think we started off with about 25 this year. And as the year's gone on, we've ended up going up to 30. And what they do is they run clubs. So we, like Anita's school, we've got, I think, 1 or 2 clubs every single lunchtime that are run by our STEM leaders, and they've split themselves into little groups. So in term 2, we had different children doing different clubs to this term, but a lot of them have wanted to continue their clubs as well. So we've got a Minecraft club, we've got an animation and drawing club, we've got just a generic kind of STEM club where each week it's a different STEM challenge, so they get a chance to explore different resources. And we have a Lego club as well. And we're not just targeting our older children, we are going right down to primary ones and working with them. And the plan is in term 4 to go down to the nursery and work with them there as well, whether it's just for 1 session a week, just especially for the primary 1 children, for them transitioning up to kind of school in August. Not only do they do the clubs, they are in helping me with lessons, whether it's just been on hand to support or it's whether they've planned an activity for a group as well. We've got our STEM week coming up in a couple of weeks. They will go and deliver activities to classes on kind of a rota basis. Throughout the week, they'll also be on hand to help with visitors and take lots of photos and collate it all together. One of the huge benefits we've seen with the Young STEM Leader programme is the increase in confidence in our children. And we've gone from, like, there's some of the children we've kind of had as STEM leaders, they've been the quietest of children who wouldn't even speak in class. It was a real kind of effort to get them to answer questions in class or even work in a small group. But what we found as they progressed through the programme is they were then willing to go and speak in front of a whole assembly. And we've noticed, because we've been doing it a few years now, what we've noticed is it's not just confidence in their STEM capabilities or their STEM leadership or even just their general leadership skills. It's actually crossing over into their other curricular areas as well. And it's not just us noticing it in school, it's at home as well. So we had a few of our 7s who left us last year. I got a lovely message from one of their mums just saying how much their child's confidence had grown through the 2 years of them doing the Young STEM Leader programme. We tend to get the STEM leader started in primary 6. So they come in primary 6 to do YSL level 2, and then in primary 7 they can continue level 3. We kind of got the flexibility there because we're doing it with kind of 2-year groups, that if they don't finish a level in a year, they've got 2 years to do it. And some of our 7s, if they become a STEM leader in P7, they try and get through level 2 and level 3 within the year. We've not managed it yet, but there will come a time where a child will. We're currently working with our local high school to try and get a progression going up there, whether it's a transition project for all the cluster schools, because currently we're the only school in our cluster delivering the STEM Leader programme. So we're hoping by having that transition project, at least all the children will go into first year with a YSL level 2, hopefully. What we're noticing as well is that just they're not just sticking to stereotypical STEM subjects, well, they're branching out, and we're trying to get like a vlog up and running, and maybe even a podcast thing as well. We're bringing in our sports coordinator as well. He's trying to get lots of footballers involved, so we can do like a STEM through sport approach as well. I think that's kind of all the bits I've got to add, but if there's any questions or anything, just fire them at me. I'm terrible. Once I get started talking about the Young STEM Leader Programme, I just kind of keep going.
No, it's really fantastic. I think it was really nice to have even just the two of you together just to share some examples from St Marnix, the broader kind of awareness. But Jane, just to really hear from you directly about the impact it's making on children, how you've grown the programme and how it's really happening. I think it's really, really been appreciated. People can feel free to kind of post questions and comments in the chat, and we'll maybe stay for a few more minutes just to answer them. And